Good afternoon. We are starting the Foundation IT online session 5 in the week 3. And so that we have had one session 4 that we started the Excel for engineering. Now we'll continue with the rest of the things that we had to discuss. And we have come up to this point that we introduce Excel formulas and functions. Then I ask you to download the cheat sheet and just go through the cheat sheet to find out what are the functions available in Excel. Today that we have to work on the graphs and how to do the formatting of the graphs. And as I mentioned you, and after introducing the graph, I will get a complete example and to show how we can use Excel for data analysis. And in that section also, we'll cover the graph in more detail. And I will get us some data. So let me please. And let's say that we want to insert a graph for this data, and we have the data that the sales rep, some sales rep that they have sold, and the cost price and their selling price, right? And if we want to draw a graph, especially in data analysis, because you know there are various types of graphs available for you to use. And so that you have to choose the correct graph and to represent the data that when you learn data analysis part in mathematics, you have to learn. You have some subject data analysis, and you have to learn. Then you'll understand what's the best graph for this type data set. What's the best graph for this analysis, right? And you'll get that understanding once you learn the subject. But for now, I'm going to teach you how to use the Excel tool to insert a graph, right? And you can see that I can draw a graph. Maybe I can draw that, you know, in a graph, we have two axes, and we have x-axis and y-axis. And just drop me a message saying we call that we use some type of variable for the x-axis. What do you call for that? And for the x-axis, what's the variable type that we use? What is the variable type that we use in the x-axis, and what is the variable type we use in the y-axis? So you have to understand and what's the x-axis and what the y-axis, and what's the type of the variable that we use for x-axis, and what's the type of the variable we use for y-axis. Yeah, it's correct. I got the correct answer for the x-axis variable. And when we are developing a graph, we have two types of variable. One is independent variable, and the other are dependent variables, right? Dependent variables. Why I mentioned dependent variables? It can be one or more, right? Generally for the x-axis we use independent variable, right? Independent variable means it won't depend on something, right? Here that if I say this table, what is the independent variable? In this table, what is the independent variable? What is the independent variable? So that when you look at the table, you can think that what is the independent variable. Yeah, in a way that actually cost price is not the independent variable here. So that we are drawing, we want to find out about the sales rep representation, right? How the sales rep behave, how the sales rep did the job, and sales rep is the independent variable, right? And when we consider about the sales rep, that x-axis we use the sales rep since it's an independent variable, right? So that sales rep should be go to the x-axis, and the cost price and selling price we can use for the y-axis, right? And first I will draw the sales rep, and because the cost price means that it can be it's different from the sales rep got different items to sell, right? So that it depends on the sales rep, right? This sales rep got maybe brushes, some other equipments to sell, right? So that's a cost price is it depends on the items that are received by the sales rep. So the independent variable is the sales rep, and we consider the sales rep to the x-axis and the others are to the y-axis. First, we'll draw one diagram, and to draw the diagram, what we have to do, you have to highlight the area that you want to amount, that figures and the title are appearing, and then you have to go to insert, and in the insert you can see, and maybe in the recommended charts that Excel recommend, that maybe Excel thinks that okay, this chart would be most suitable for this. And I mean, you don't want to just select the recommended one, but if you prefer the other way, other chart, that I think I will insert line chart, and I will use the line chart and get the 2D line chart to insert the sales rep and the cost price, right? And so that when I insert line chart, so that very easy that you can insert it. And when you insert a chart, there are a lot of options that you can change in the chart, and you have to understand the item of the chart. And when you consider the item here, this is the chart title, right? And this is the chart title. We call it as a chart elements, right? This is one of the element in the chart. This is we called as chart title, right? And when you insert a chart on Excel, and when the chart is selected, so the selected means that you can see small rounds around there, and the chart is selected. Then you can see there are new tabs appearing, and chart format and chart design, and all the options available in the charts that you can see in chart design and chart format tabs, right? And chart design and chart format tab are activated, right? In the chart design tab, you can see add chart element, and please, when you just open it, there are a lot of elements you can add to the chart, and this is the chart title, and also you can add axis title and data labels, right? And data table, a lot of things. So we are not going to add lot of information because it's a chart. It get disturbed to the real, that why whatever really requirement is to provide the overall idea about how the data got spreaded, so that you have to understand which type of elements that are most suitable for your chart. Especially, and here, and that's the chart element. Also, you can do some other changes. So when you right click, and when you see, you can format the chart area, right? And if I select format chart area, you can see, and the colors changing, and this is axis, and And here the least amount is 800,000, 800, and the highest amount is 1,600. And I can start my x-axis from 600 so that I can have more detailed layout of the chart so that you can change the axis option. And when you click this one, and if I want to change the axis option, that you can click on this one, these numbers, then the axis option get activated, right? And you can see the axis option, its alignment, and here it's we can see this axis options, minimum, maximum, and what's the unit, major unit, minor unit, right? The minimum amount, it starts from 0. I can start from 600. Right? So that I started it from 600 so that you can get more detailed chart, and all the other things just go through, and you can see what are the things that you can do. And if you want, you can have the horizontal line, or you can change the line color. When you click on this line, you can change its color. It's blue. You can maybe have some dash type, and lot of things that you can do the changes, right? And the most importantly here that you have to understand what are the changes required, and especially as an example that you are going to get it printed, I have to submit the report, and there are several lines in your chart. Then at that situation, you have to be very careful how to differentiate one from another, because if you don't get the color printout, and it's not having use of having two different colors, right? So in that situation, you have to understand, maybe you have to put one is the dot and the other one is the line, right? And those things are very, very important. And here you can, if you want, you can change the chart type, and this is line chart. You can change the chart type, and you can format chart area, and most importantly, the select data. When you click select data, you can understand how chart obtain the data from the area that you have selected, right? This is the source of your chart, right? And you can see the legend entries. We have added one entry, cost price, right? And this is the horizontal x-axis label. If you want, you can add more legend entries to the chart. Then you can have multiple charts in the same chart. As an example, if I want to add the selling price to the same chart, I can click add, right? Then the series name is selling price. So this is the series name, and the series value. We select the series value, right? And click OK. Remember, when we are adding 2 or 3 or 4 legend entries, it should get the same x-axis one, right? So that if it is not appearing properly, you have to select edit, and you have to click axis label range as this one, right? So that I have added two entries to the 2 legend entry to the same chart. Then when I click OK, you can see both charts in the same sheet. And can you see that this is the blue color is for the cost price, and orange color is for the selling price. And now if we want to show, we can have the design at chart element, we can add the legend here. Legend, right. So this is called as a legend, right? So that is how you can insert a chart using some data in the Excel sheet. Especially when you are selecting, let's assume that we want to select the sales rep and the selling price, excluding the middle column. In that situation, you have to select it by pressing the control key and select this one, right? And then we cannot use normal selection if we use if you are not going to use the adjustment column, then we have to use it use the control key to select the columns like this, right? And there are some chart elements also. If you want, you can add the labels here, the values, and the just when you are doing it, just add those elements and try what will happen, right? And you add if there are a lot of things here, you add that and see what will happen. And when you right click also, you can see add data labels. If I select then it will add data labels, right? And I can add these points also. It doesn't show the points clearly, so that I can add the points. When I click this one and color, and you can see the marker. Marker is the point, this point, right? And if I say the mark option and built-in, right? When I select this mark option, then you can see, right? So that you can add marker, that's the point, data point to your chart. Any question regarding on inserting the charts? I think you may have learned these things, right? When you learn Excel, that you may have learned these things. Any questions? No. Right. Okay. Now we'll move to the next session. It's the data analysis part, and you have to. There's an assignment. You have to complete this one, and so see that multiple charts in one chart, multiple series in one chart, and this is a bar chart, and this is a bar, pie chart, and this is a bar chart, right? As I told you that there are a lot of various type of charts. And the most importantly, when we come to the data analysis part, and you can't avoid this data analysis part. As I told you, right, you have to do research here, do the projects, and in the project you have to do the data analysis from the data that you have collected. It depends. In any stream, you have to do it. And here in the data analysis, it's a process, right? There are several stages that we have to complete during the data analysis. And mainly the first thing, we are collecting the data, and assume that we've completed collecting and entering the data to the Excel, right? Now we have the data sheet. And but before doing any analysis, we have to do the data pre-processing. Data pre-processing means, like, then we are having the data as the way that we collected. And then we have to see whether the data are in the format that we wanted, and what are the calculations we need to do. We have to do the normal calculation and the statistical calculation. Normal calculation means that if you want to calculate the total, if you want to calculate the maybe combine one or two, if you want to group the data, those things are normal calculations. And the data, in the data pre-processing, we have to complete all the things. Maybe we have to filter data, we have to get the lookup value, we have to combine data, right? And a lot of things we have to do. those things we call data pre-processing. During the data pre-processing, we have to see the errors also. Maybe data entering errors, the different format errors. As I mentioned earlier, numbers may be entered as text, right? Those things we have to just look at and verify whether our data is perfectly okay for data analysis. And especially during the data pre-processing, and there may be outliers, in the data analysis. Outliers means that you can see the range of the data. Maybe generally it will between 100 to 150. But I mean, you don't know how it happens, but there's a data in your data set, it's 1,500, right? So it cannot be, right? If you use the 1,500 data, your data analysis will completely go wrong, right? You will get a completely different result. So in such situation, we'll say that it's an outlier. We'll remove that data number from our list, that we are not going to use it for data analysis, right? And then we'll come to the statistical calculation. In the statistical calculation, there are equations, statistical knowledge that you have to learn. And so then thirdly, we do the information presentation. That mostly we use the graph, chart, table for our information presentation, right? So in the data pre-processing part, it's not, I cannot say that these things are the only function that we want to use, but mostly that we use these functions and for data pre-processing part. And the left function, these are text function, right? The text function, and just give me a minute, right? sorry for that. I had an important call, right? And so that I was talking about the text function, and the text function is very, very important. We sometimes we make mistake when we are entering the data as an example, and so that we want to categorize some based on some category. Let's say that if I get a new sheet, and if I want to if I want to collect the data based on some department, so that I'm using the department, let's say these are our department of in the faculty. And so that if I've collected the data from maybe student, and I ask them to select the department, right? And if by mistake I kept unnecessary space in some text, right? You can see in a computer, I kept some space. Right. So when I want to filter the data, and if I kept spaces like this, and it will not filter as computer, right? So that if I ask to get the computer data and with the space, and I will not get the correct result. So in such situation, we don't know. I mean, maybe when data someone is entering the data, maybe can keep the spaces, or even though that we got the online form, and when we are editing the data, we might keep some extra spaces. And we can use the function, trim function. And when I say equal caps trim function, you can trim the unnecessary space from leading and the pass space from the word, right? When I say the trim and space and close, that I don't have any space at the end of the word, right? So that's text function, and like that, I'm not doing all of the function, but I'm saying what we can do using this function. And left function gives, you can extract some text from another text, right? So that I use these things in especially for you, right? And that your registration number is, numbers are E21, maybe 001, and E21 2, like that. And so that I want to send the data to create your ENG email to the NCSU, that your email format is, you know that already, no slashes, E convert to lowercase. And so that I can convert, I mean, without typing it, I can write a formula equation to create ENG email from your registration number. What I can do, and I know that if it's the same batch, I know that like the first part should be E21, so that I can say equal. And with the double quotation, you can give any text that it will appear, E21. And so then double quotation, and then we can concatenate. Concatenate means combine together, right? Add the text with the and sign, right? And so then the thing is now it should come the last 3 digit, right? The last 3 digit is are not same. It depends on registration number. So that similar, the left or right function we use to get the number of text extract from another text, right? So that the same thing goes to the left function also. Now I'm using the right function and open bracket, right? And this is the text that I'm going to use, and I'm extracting only only three numbers from the registration number, right? So that again that I have to add another part and double quotation eng.pdn.ac.lk. Oh, sorry that I close the double quotation and press enter. I mean, I missed one, and this should add. So then, I told you that you can copy the formula. And here that I generated the registration email address from the registration number. And I will get that if I want to add some, maybe sometimes that I might get different batch, right? So then I can extract the mid. Using the mid, I can extract the middle part from any text using the mid. So that it's very similar. The mid has two parameters. This had three parameters. Mid, you have to get the starting point. You have to refer the text, starting point, and how many, what's the number of text that you want to extract, right? So these things are text function, and the find, you can say that, okay, find the first empty space in your text, right? So then it will return what's the exact place, maybe starting from 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fifth place, you have the space, right? So the find is for that, and lower is to lowercase, uppercase, and trim. And text is, you can give a format using the text. As an example, if you want to give a format for me, maybe the mobile number or your date or some other things, that you can define the formatting using text. So you have the helpline, you can refer the helpline. So the phone numbers and the other things. And value, we can convert some like number, like text, we can convert to the value. So then mathematical function. Mathematical function, we can use sum, average, round, power, and sum if and sum ifs I will show you when I write the if function, the conditional function. And the lookup and sequences, and then we'll see how we write lookup functions. We use the lookup function to filter data from some other table, right? So we, not only these, there are other functions as well. You have to use this function to do the data pre-processing. The idea of data pre-processing is get a good quality data set for data analysis. Then we'll go to the data analysis part. In the data analysis part, I told you that this is a very large subject area that you have to learn, and you will learn under mathematics. There are several data analysis subjects here. And I'm just using very simple data analysis function, mean, median, average, standard deviation, right? And those things are very this should be, I should be mod, right? Not average. Mean and average is the same value. Average we use for mathematical word is average is a mathematical word. The same word is mean for the average, right? And mod, another statistical calculation, we use mod. And for the data, the information presentation, we have to use graphs and charts are for information presentation. And I'm using a sheet that I will show you. So this is that as an example, and this is a payroll. Maybe we'll consider payroll for a week for different people, and you can complete this some task, right? As the first task, and I am going to cover up most of the features in Excel when I'm doing this example. And most of the things that I mentioned here. Okay, first, as the first one, I need to autofill the employee number. And earlier I told you that we can copy the formula, and we can copy not only the formula, some text as well. And here it says EM 0001, EM 0002. And if the format you want to continue as it is, you can copy this one also, right? So then it will adjust as the way, and it increase in the number, right? So that we copied this text, and it will, it's not a formula, it's text, right? But it will adjust based on the line that you copied, right? And by increasing number one by one. So that's the first thing. And there's another thing, and in Excel, and if you want to enter data, you can do the data validation. Like, without typing, you can select data from a drop-down list. We can create drop-down list in Excel very quickly. As an example, this title only has Mr., Miss, or Mrs. But maybe if you want to select data from number of district in Sri Lanka, you don't want to type it again and again. If you select it from a list, it avoids so many mistakes. The first mistake, it avoids keeping unnecessary space. It avoids the incorrect spelling mistake, right? And it saves a lot of time, because it will take a lot of time for you to type it, right? So how we can use the data validation, and how we can obtain data from a data list, very, very easy. That say that if you want to get the data list here, and to select, and go to the first cell that you want to add the list, and I can make, this is the easiest way. And under the other information, I have mentioned, okay, these are the things that I'm going to add in the title, under title. So my list is this one, right? So then go to here and go to the data. It's the data tab. And under the data tab, see whether you can see data validation. Goodness, I can't see data validation. Right here. Here it's data, because now since I changed the one, it's the name has gone off. Right here, I don't know whether you can see the link, this one, data validation, and it's in the data tools, data validation. When you go to the data validation, when you can see a small down arrow and click data validation, right? So in the data validation, we can use, there are different types of data validation, and so that my validation criteria, I'm using list, right? So the list is my validation criteria, and the list, when I select the list, and it is asking what's the source, and so that I can define the source. My source is in the other information and this three. So that is my source, right? And click OK. Now you can see that down arrow appears, and I have option that I can select this, the correct option for this one, right? And so that I can, I mean, when you drag and, sorry, I have to drag it and drop it, and before selecting anything. And so that then when it comes here, I can select without typing by selecting the like this. So that very easy. And so the next thing, the designation also can do the same thing. What I have to do, go to the designation, go to the data tab and select data validation. And what's my validation rule is list, and select the source, and the source from other information. These are the designation. And click OK. Right. And copy the designation up to here. And select the designation like this. So that's how we can do the things. I need to select the designation. I can adjust the column as a way that I want to appear everything, and let's support grade 1. Right. Now I can as the way that I can enter the data. Now my hourly rate depends on the designation that I have the information here, right? You can use the lookup function. Lookup function we use. Okay, we are looking a value in another table and getting the value next to it. As an example, I can look up, right, work it from here, and then I can get the value 300 to this column, right? So that we can use that since we are looking at vertically, we can use the VLOOKUP function. VLOOKUP function. And the VLOOKUP value is work at grade 2. And the table array is this. This is the table array. And what we are doing is you can get the information, you can get the helpline of these functions and from the cheat sheet I have shared. And I just want you to understand how to use these things. And we got the table array, and the column index number we want to get the value is the 2, because we have under the designation we have the column index 1, and hourly rate we have column index 2, so that we want the value in the column index 2. Then whether we want the exact value, and then when we want the exact value, first one that I made a mistake. I remove one, and the lookup value is okay, that one. This is the lookup value, and the range is this one, comma, and column index name is 2. And if we want to get the exact value, we have to say, if we want to get the approximate match, you have to select approximate match, but here I want to get the exact match. Then I select exact match and click press enter. So it's get 300, right? And now I want to copy the formula, but I told you, right, there are some fixed column here, and this range should not be changed, so that I have to use the absolute references for that. And I use function F4 for the range, function F4, right, and press enter, right? Can you understand how I use the VLOOKUP function, or just you want me to explain it again? if you didn't understand, because the VLOOKUP function is very useful function, and even though it's the process is complex. Okay, right. So the lookup function we use to look at the value in other table and get other next adjacent cell value, right? So for that we use the lookup function, and here that we have to consider that normally if we are looking at the information vertical way, we can use the VLOOKUP function. The concept of VLOOKUP function is we see whether this value, the work rate grade 2 varies in this table and get next value adjacent to that, right? It can have maybe 3 or 2 or 4 more columns, right? The column index number starting, this is the column index 1, this is column index 2, and if we have some other rows, and column index 3, column index 4, column index 5, like that. So that when we use the VLOOKUP function, first we write the VLOOKUP, that's the function, and open the bracket, and this is the value that we want to look at, right? So this is the value, and where are we going to look at it is the range, right? So that where are we going to look at is in this table. So this is the table that we are going to look at, and what is the value, what is the column index that we want to get the value for this cell? We want to get the value that when we find out, okay, we found the value, this work rate group 2, we found this one, then what's the value, in which column that value that you want to get that cell? We want to get the value in the index 2, right? Sometimes if we may want to get the value in this column, then we have to specify column index 3. If the value is in this column, we have to specify column index 4, right? But here we have to get the value in column index 2, that we have to specify it as, okay, we need the value in column 2, right? So that's a column index. And then the next parameter is, there are two parameters, true or false. True means we can get the approximate value. The approximate value means especially that when it's matching and it doesn't match exact word, right? And we try to match the approximately, maybe part of the word. But here we want to get the exact match. The work rate grade 2 match should be matched with the work rate grade 2 there. Then we have to use the false, right? So then when you press enter, you get 300, right? And then we have to think the range should not be changed there, so that we add it to the absolute references. Otherwise, the range value will get changed. Then we copy the formula up to the end, right? You can see, so that it got the value, and by referring the designation and obtaining the value next to that designation, right? Is it okay now? Did you get the point, why we use lookup and how it can be used? Okay, right. So that just you do some example, then you'll understand it. And now we got the hourly rate and hours work, and we can calculate the gross pay. Gross pay, I'll calculate, we can do equal, and hourly rate multiply by hours worked, right? So it's a formula that it's very simple. And then scroll down until to the last one. Right? And then we have to calculate the tax, and tax is given 3%. So the tax value is, we can say, equal, and the gross pay multiply by tax value. And here also we have to be very careful. The tax value should be the absolute reference, and we have to press it as absolute reference. And then we go up to here to calculate the tax. Now we want to get the net pay means we can gross pay, we have to deduct tax value from the gross pay, right? So that's the net pay. So then there's another option, it says the bonus. How we calculate the bonus? Add a bonus to those who work more than 32 hours, right? So that we are going to add a bonus. That we have a condition here, right? We have to consider a condition, right? So that when we want to add a condition in Excel, we have to use if function. I think in IT, that if you have done IT in O level, you can see the condition. If when we consider if, right, in the if condition, in the if condition in computer, if is the condition, if is the conditional function, so that, and inside the if we have to say the logically, that we use the logical operator inside the if function, right? Can you just put a chat pane, maybe 2 or 3 logical operators? Comparison operators and logical operators. We use both. First just type some comparison operators, comparison operators. So to compare two values. So we use comparison operators to compare two values. What are the comparison operators we are having? Yeah, we have less than, greater than, less than or equal, greater than or equal. So those are the comparison operators. And if we have we can combine in condition two comparison operators using the logical operator, right? So that we can let's say that normally in the comparison operators we can have two values. What are those two values, right? So if this is X is an operand, and we have a comparison operator greater than, and Y is another operand. And for this calculation, what are the two possible values we can have? There are only two values for this. What are the possible values that we can have? So this is the comparison calculation. Yeah, we can have only two values, none other than either true or either false. Right. So in the if condition, what we are doing, we are comparing two operands, two values, right? And using a comparison operator. So as an example, if I compare whether X is greater than or Y, right, then I can have only two possible values. So under the if condition, the first part goes to what I expect Excel to do if this comparison is true, and this is the true area. This is the true area. And what I expect Excel to be done if this comparison is false. It is false area. So here my question is, add a bonus to those who work more than, there's no equal here, more than 32 hours. So that my comparison is if, right, and the working time, working hours, I will say WH is greater than 32. Then the true area, the net pay So it will give the information. I show you the information in the other information. Bonus criteria, those who work more than 32 hours, bonus is 2% from the net salary, right? And the 2% should be added to the net salary. So that net salary, we have to multiply by 102%, right? So if it's false, we have to print only the net salary. Right? So you understand this condition. So this is how you can write. You have to write if condition in the Excel. Right? So that how we can write it here. And so the bonus, we have to write the equal, and the condition is if. And the logical test, what is my logical test? And this is the hours work, whether it's greater than 32. And if it's greater than 32, the net pay, we have to multiply by 102%. 102 means 100% plus 2%. So that I will together, I can write it together. If it is not, I only get the net pay. Right? So press enter. Did you understand how we wrote if condition? Right, okay. So then I can copy the things that here. And another thing, remember, in the if condition, you can have nested if condition, very complex equation. Nested if means, as an example, this is true. If I want to do more things, I can add, without adding this one, I can add another if condition here. Right? Another if condition here. Or if I want to do more thing, if the condition is fails, if the condition is false, I can add another conditions here, another if conditions here, right? Like that, maybe sometimes, and in my cases for something, I have used 50. Yeah, it's correct. Sorry. But I thought that it's bonus. Yes, it's correct. It's not the total. Total payable by here. This is 2%. Exactly correct. Very good. And I thought that it's a total payable. It's not total payable. We should multiply it by 2%. Yeah. Right. And for the bonus, the false one should be 0, right? It's not the total one. It's the bonus, right? So then we only get the 2%, or if it's not, the bonus is 0. And as I mentioned, if you want, you can add more if conditions inside either true part or either false part. Another thing, you can use the logical operators. As an example, we have only one condition here. But if we want to add 2 or more conditions, we can use and or not operators here. You already learned about and or not operators. And to add the and not or operators in Excel, we cannot use it like this. Let's say that the first condition is X greater than Y, and the second condition is this is my first condition, right? And the second condition is P less than Q, right? So that if I want to, I can use the logical operators. You have already learned about logical operators. We can and or not are the basic logical operators, and we can use and or not operators if we want to combine multiple comparisons in if condition. But here we normally write it like this, right? And we normally write x greater than y and p less than q, right? But in Excel we cannot write it like this. We have another function called and inside that we have to give the condition. We cannot write it like this, and see that we can see. And as an example, in my other Excel sheet, let's say that this is my number 12 here, and this is 13. And here, if I say 45, 23, right? So that let's assume that this is x greater than y, and this is x, this is y, and this is p, this is q, right? So if I can say that like equal and the first logic one is y, and the second logic is you can see the both conditions are failed, right? So that it should see the false, right? But when I increase it 42, and when I increase it 78, now both conditions are correct, then I get the answer true, right? So remember, like this, you can use this inside if one and not and o, right? Both there are different equation for and, different equation for o, different equation for not. The same way that you can use inside if condition, you can use those things. And so that we calculate the bonus, right? And we calculate the total payable is net pay plus bonus. Right, and then we have to calculate the total, and you already know that to calculate the total, we can use the sum function and equal sum and provide the range. Bracket, enter. So that very easy, we copy the formula in the horizontal way, right? So the mean means the average. Mean in the statistic, we call it as mean. In the math sheet, we call it as average. And we have average. And select the entire thing. And open bracket, close bracket, press enter. Copy it. I need to add another thing here, mode. I forgot to add it. Do you know what is median? Can someone tell me what is median? I'm not going to tell these things except the standard deviation, because you have learned these things, right? In O-level statistics. Yeah, middle data, it's a middle data, right? And so in the Excel, you don't want to think anything, and equations are there. Median, open bracket, and select the data set and close the bracket, right? So this is the median. Another term, and you can see another term, the standard deviation. Did you learn standard deviation in statistic in A-level? I can't remember, right? Have you heard about this word? Did you learn what is it? Yeah. So okay. So then I don't want to explain it, right? And in Excel, we can see we use the standard deviation, how the other data value was scattered based on the mean, and how deviated it from the mean. And standard deviation we use, if it is for the population we use P, if it is for the sample we use S, but normally I use P. The what is the population and what is the sample you will learn when you learn the statistical analysis subjects in undergraduate. I think you already know about what is the population and what is the sample. What you can't remember, standard deviation or the population and sample? Right, okay. So that if I explain the standard deviation as an example, right, it's, you know that mean value is, we can represent a data set using a mean value, right? Standard deviation, we can calculate 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviation, 3 standard deviation. It is like this. And as an example, if our data set, if we draw our data set, let's say that when our data set is distributed like this, and I can say this, maybe I will say that this is the mean, right? And so if this is the mean, and I have the data here, like this, right? So the standard deviation means that I can say that it's this value. It's deviated, the scattered, the points deviated. This is from here, this is we call as standard deviation, right? If you say that my data set is mean is 23 and standard deviation 7.75, or standard deviation is 7, then my data set contain the value, mean is 23, 23 minus 7, and 23 plus 7. That's the area that most of my data are distributed. So that's a standard deviation, right? So we can represent the whole data set only by referring the mean and the standard deviation value, right? So that in the statistic, when you are saying data, when you are providing the data set, you can have to say, so the mean value is this and the standard deviation of is this. So then the whole set of, anyone can get the idea about the whole set. And the mode is the mode. What's the mode? Yeah, the most repeated value is the mode. So that we have function in Excel that normally the mode value is that only for these type of data the hours work. The mode value we are not using this the total payable. We don't want to use these things, right? So this, it's, you can say it's very easy, right? So that up to this point, if you could calculate the data, you can write a research paper, right? If you can calculate up to this point, and you can write a research paper by collecting data. And there's other thing, I think you learn about the interval, that frequency distribution. Can you remember frequency distribution? You have learned those things, right? I know exactly. Even in, I can remember it's in O level, it's available because my daughter is doing O level. I know it's there, right? Frequency distribution, frequency table, histograms. Remember? Right, you can calculate the frequency, that we can calculate the interval to represent the data, and then we can draw the histogram, right? So that in Excel, very easily we can get one. And to calculate, to get the frequency, to calculate the intervals, first we have to calculate the range. How we calculate the range in our data set? What's the equation to calculate the range? How we calculate the range in a data set? Yeah, exactly correct. Maximum value minus minimum value. And here in Excel, as I told you, you don't want to do anything manually, but you have equation for max, and select max, and we are calculating doing the one for the hourly rate. No, the hours work. So that's we get the range, then we get the max value. And minus, we can add both. I mean, we don't want to calculate max separate, min separate. And now we are much familiar with the data sets. Min, press enter. So the range is just few minutes. Give me a minute. Then we have to calculate the group. We have to just think about a group size, right? And it depends on you. And I think I have selected group 5 groups. And so the 5 groups, then we can calculate the bin size. And here the bin size, how to calculate the bin size? We have to divide by the range from the group size. Then we have to calculate the bin size. Here we range divide by group size. So then we know the bin size is 5.8. Normally, when we get a bin size like this, we'll consider it as 6. Right, and so these are the things that we have done. Then we can say that the bin size 6, and then the next bin size we can multiply by its. We are adding 6 by 6 and 12, right, and then the 18. So that like that, and I'll copy this one. Right. So the interval is, we can say this is 0 to 6, right? And the next is from 7 to 12. You already know these things, how to write intervals. Zero to 6. Then when you want to write the frequency, we can use, there's a frequency function here. But something that we have to do before writing the function, we are calculating the frequency at the same time, right? And not typing it in the first cell, not copying that one. First, we have to select, because the frequency is a common thing for this, the entire bins, right? First, you have to select the section that you want to have the frequencies, right? After selecting, you go to this formula bar, then you write equal and use the frequency. And then first we have to specify the data array. My data array is here. So this is my data array. And please try to understand this. We have to use the same process in for the multiple cells in matrices also. And then I specify the bin array. First I specify the data array and comma, then I specify the bin array, right? Then I close the bracket. Now I have to press Control Shift Enter together. Control Shift Enter together, right? So this is, you have to remember when you are working with the multiple cells, you have to say shift it, Control Shift Enter together. In matrix calculations also, you have to do the same thing. Right? You are not copying the for writing formula in the first cell, not copying it to the other. First, you have to select the entire cell range. Then you type the equation, complete the equation. Don't press enter, press Control Shift Enter together, right? Then the entire cell will be filled with values, right? So now I have completed the frequency, then select the intervals, select frequency. Sorry, select the interval with the control, select the frequency. I don't want to get the bin, and I'm going to insert and select the one. I have to select the clustered column. But when you are, remember, when you are inserting the histogram doesn't have spaces in between these columns, right? So that I had to remove the spaces, and so the format data series, the gap width should be 0. In the histogram, we are not having any spaces in between the data line, right? So this is the histogram for this frequency and frequency histogram. So this is one type of data analysis thing that we are using in we have redeveloped intervals and frequency, and we have done these things in your A-level or O-level. And so the same thing, rather than doing, without doing any calculation, just using the equations in Excel, quickly we can perform these things. Right? Okay, understood. Things are clear up to this point. Raise your hand, because I told you right now, we have discussed things that now you can, by looking at the data set, now you can analyze it up to some point, and we can prepare the reports. Even without learning the real data analysis concept and the other things. And you will be learning, you have 2 or 3 subjects in your undergraduate, and you have to do projects, can't avoid, right? And so that's the data analysis process I want to discuss with you. And so next we go to the matrix calculations. We go to the matrix calculation, and I will open that. I think I have hidden it today. We have just, you already know about what's the matrix, and you can refer, there are some videos about the matrices, and to get an idea. And the most important thing is and as I mentioned you, the matrix that it's a set of number that written in rows and columns. That it's a kind of an arrangement. Why the matrices are more important? Because we can do some complex calculations when assigning that numbers to a matrix. And we refer it as the rows and columns that when we want to say about a matrix, we normally say what's the number of rows and what's the number of columns of the matrix. Number into number of rows into number of columns, right? So this matrix is number of rows is 3. It's 3 by 4 matrix, right? And not only the numbers, as thing I mentioned you, we can have some items containing matrices also, right? And earlier I mentioned we can represent the data, and this here it doesn't have any meaning, but here it has a meaning, right? So it has a meaning, especially in data analysis. We can represent some collected data as a matrix and do the calculations. Right here it says that high school, 5 entries, 3 dessert and 5 drinks. Middle school, 3 entries, 2 dessert and 4 drinks. Right, something like that. We can represent some real data using a matrix, and we can have some calculations, and we can do it manually. Now you have used some of the methods to calculate the matrix calculation manually, right? And similarly, you can use Excel to do the matrix calculation. Right? And we can multiply the matrix. We can find the inverse of the matrix. We can get the determinant of the matrix. We can get the transposition of the matrix that we convert. We completely do the upside down of the matrix is in transposition. And so these are the matrix operation in Excel. And multiplication, we use M mult. Inverse, for inverse use one, we use M inverse. For determinants, we use M determine. And for transposition, we use transpose, right? So those equations, please remember. And I'll show you how to apply these things later. But now, for now, you have to remember. So these are the equations of matrices, matrix calculation, right? And there are some rules that we have to apply when in the matrix calculation, especially when in the matrix multiplication. And you should know, and we cannot multiply any matrix by any matrix. So it's not possible. Right? To multiply a matrix by matrix, there's the first matrix that its column number should equal to the second matrix row number. Right? If only these two are equal, these two matrices are multiplicable. Otherwise, those two matrices are not multiplicable. Right? We cannot multiply if the first matrix column number is not equal to the second matrix row number. But if it is equal, we can multiply A by from B, right? And the other important thing is when we multiply A from B, so it's already these two are equals, and the resultant matrix, the result will get the from the rest of the numbers, right? And we get, when we multiply 2 by 3 matrix from 3 by 1 matrix, we get the result 2 by 1 matrix. So that's the rule, that matrix multiplication rule that we have to consider. By looking at the matrix, we can just get an idea, okay, and these two we can multiply, otherwise it will get an error message, right? And here that I mentioned you, we have some application, right? Why the matrices are very, very important? Because we can use matrices for some applications. So that's one of the application is we can solve this the equation. We have 3 unknown variable, and with 3 unknown variable, and we have 3 equation. You can solve it, right? I know that we can manually solve it, but the process is complex. But in using matrix, we can easily solve that one. Right. So here they see that you represent these things using a matrix equation. Right. So like this. Right. So we can represent this thing using this matrix equation. Right. So that here the same thing. That if you apply the matrix multiplication, you get the equation like this. Right. And if what we want to know, we want to calculate x1, x2, and x3. And then how we calculate it. And there is another thing that we can use that when we multiply we matrix from its transpose, and we get one matrix, so that we can apply that idea and get here x1, x2, x3 matrix, we can separate one place, one side, right? So what we'll do, we multiply both sides in transpose matrix, then this will become one, the unit matrix, and now we have only x1, x2, x3 in one side, right? So that if we perform these two operations, and you already know this is 3 by 3 matrix, and this is 3 by 1 matrix, and as a result, we should get 3 by 1 matrix, and this is 3 by 3 matrix, and this is 3 by 1 matrix. Then we have to get resultant one 3 by 1 matrix. Then we can represent x1, x2, x3 from that value. Right? So this operation in Excel we can do easily. What we have to do first, this is a matrix, and I don't know whether you can remember. I told you that when we are writing matrix, first we write the numbers and we have to provide the range. So that's the easiest way, rather than giving the value, the range as the value, but we can give a name to the matrix. And then what we have to do, we have to get it transpose, sorry, not transpose, it's inverse, right? Sorry, I made a mistake. We have to get its inverse, and then what we have to do, we have to do the multiplication of the inverse matrix with this matrix. Then we get another 3 number, the resultant matrix. So the resultant matrix should represent x1, x2, x3. Right. So that is a practical application of the matrix calculation. So we can very easily we can get the inverse matrix. You know that the M inverse is for to get the inverse matrix of a matrix. And so that very easily you can calculate, multiply 2 matrices using a matrix. So that answer is quickly, and you get the resultant matrix, right? So this is an example of the practical application of matrix. And the only thing you should know how to calculate the matrix calculation. Just give me a minute, right? Okay, sorry for let you wait, right? And as I mentioned that the only thing that you should know, after every calculation, you have to not to enter, but you should use shift control enter to get the answer. So that we'll see and in the real Excel, and we'll see how we can perform. I will use the same value. It's easy for you. And what's the value that in the matrix? It's -8 +1, 2. And I will get a new sheet. My matrix, I can say the matrix is, I just refer it as A. The matrix is -8, 1, and 2. And it's 5, 7. And I can't remember the other one. 2. 5, 7 minus 3, 2, 1 minus 2. 5, 7 minus 3, 2, 1 minus 2. Right. So this is the matrix A. Right. I take the range and I give the name. I give matrix A at the center. So you can see whether the range is given correctly. Then I have to get the inverse, right? A inverse, A. I should get the inverse and what's the, as I told you first, what is the size of the inverse matrix? So that you have to select the size of the inverse matrix. Normally you get the inverse matrix the same size, that we have to select the same size. First you have to select the area. You have to understand what is the size of the resultant matrix, right? So here when you are doing the matrix calculation, you have to have that idea. Then you select the area that the resultant matrix should display. Then go to the formula one, then equal, and write the equation M inverse, then open bracket. Now you can just start to type that the variable name, that range name that you specified, and select the range name that you specified. One. Now remember, you have to use Control Shift Enter together, right? Control Shift Enter together to get the inverse matrix, right? So can you understand it? To get the inverse matrix, so that we can say that I told you that A equal A, we can see multiply A by A inverse. What will happen here? We can multiply A. We'll see what is the answer. Right. It's a 3 by 3 matrix, and this is also a 3 by 3 matrix, so that you have to get a 3 by 3 matrix. So select the 3 by 3 and go to the formula bar, equal, and what's the equation? M mult, and we didn't name the second one, but we can select the range it. And array one, we already name it math A. And but we didn't name the array 2, but we can select it as a range and close the bracket. We have to use Shift, Control, Shift, Enter together. Right. You know that it's, even though it's typically we are getting it as a 0, but can be a very small number, right? This is a very small, 10 to the power minus 17, so that we can consider those as zeros, right? And so that you can see it's, you get the unit matrix, all one. So that's why we can apply it for the equation calculation. You get the unit matrix, 1, 1, 1 matrix, right? And here that another operation that I mentioned is a transpose. Transpose of a matrix. Transpose means row becomes columns, column becomes row, right? So that if we have a matrix like this, so that I will use 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and minus 4, 1, minus 5, 3, 2, 9. Right. I have here this 4 by 3 matrix. 4 by 3 matrix, right? So if I want to get a transpose of this matrix, what it happen? What's the resultant matrix? This is 4 by 3. When it get transposed, we should be 4 by 3, become 3 by 4, right? So the 3 by 4 that I have to select 3 by 4 and go there equal. What's the transpose? What's the equation for the transpose matrix? Here, this is transpose, right? Here the transpose and the matrix is this. Rather than say selecting the range, please use the range, naming the range and use the name. That is the easiest way. And percent. Oh, sorry, that's the thing. I percent. Right. Define the array, close the bracket, and don't forget Control Shift Enter. Right. You can see it become the other way, right? Transpose. We get the row into column, column into row. How about the matrix calculation? Did you understand the process, right? Since you know the subject already, and I'm not asking about the subject, I'm asking whether you understood how you can perform matrix calculation in Excel. Please raise your hand if you understood, and please post the message if you want me to do it again. Okay, I can see that most of you understood. Right, and are there any question up to the things that we have done? So, we have done so far. Now you can do the matrix assignment also. You can see here the matrix assignment. It gives the instruction to do. Any question that the things that we've discussed so far? Right. So if there are no questions, we'll wind up the session by today. For the today, and we'll continue the. You mean you want to get the. I don't get it's the hat we get to use the power. You want to get this like -1. This is 2 to the power. Like this, the equation. Okay. So you can write the same way because we are using it like the way that it's when it's equal. If you want to calculate 2 to the power 3, the same thing, 2 to the power minus 1. Is that okay? You want me to type it or the equation? That's that I didn't get it. Right? You understand this 2 to the power minus 1 means 1 over 2. All right, you want to type it like this or the calculation that yeah, you that I understood, right? That's the problem you're having, right? Yeah, that's the style comes automatically, right? I can't remember. There's a way to write, right? Double quotation or something. I'll find it and for you that without taking it automatically convert the format. I will let you know. There's a way to write. Right. I will mention right in the next class how to write that because for some text that it's automatically identify the format and display as especially dates. I'll let you know. I can recall it now. Okay, right. We'll wind up the session for today. And if you have any question, you can just contact me or you can post question to the forum and we'll meet in the next week, right? Have a nice day. Thank you for joining.